Hi, I'm Temple Hayes, and I'm here today with Dr. Arun Gandhi. And here we are in Orlando, and this day is October the 2nd, 2017. How odd is it that many months ago, almost a couple of years ago, the Pulse gun massacre occurred right here in Orlando, Florida, where 49 plus 1 individuals were killed. And we consider that to be our largest ever. And here we are now back in Orlando with a prearranged meeting. Mm-hmm. And we're gathered here in this area on this day, only to wake up this morning, Dr. Gandhi, and discover that we have now yet again the largest massacre ever in U.S. history.
Yes, I was in Nashville this morning, and I got up. We had a wonderful program yesterday, and right into the night, we were speaking about how to observe grandfather's birthday, which is today, October 2nd, meaningfully, as well as, in 2 years, he's going to be 150th birthday is coming up in 2019. So we were thinking about all of these things and how to make effect on the world. And then I get up and I put on the news, and I hear about the massacre in Las Vegas, and it was shocking. Mm-hmm. It really blew my mind away that a person could walk into a hotel with 12 military-type rifles and so many ammunitions and guns and handguns and that kind of an arsenal, and be allowed to take it up to the room there. And I can't understand what kind of a philosophy is this, where people can buy guns more easily than one can buy candy.
Or adopt a pet. You have to go through so much to adopt a pet. You have to fill out the forms. Yeah. You have to have a significant amount of money, and they have to do a home visit. Mm-hmm. And yet we'll give these guns that will just kill and destroy. It just makes no sense.
Worse than that is the fact that we send out young people to war, and we train them to kill before they are sent into war. We train them how to brutalize and kill people in war, and then we send them out to the battlefield. And when they come back again, we expect them to just meld into the society on their own, without taking any precautions of seeing that they are gradually brought back into normal society. And so a lot of these young people suffer from PTSD and all kinds of traumas that they experience in the war. And then, anger plays a very substantial role. They get angry because people are not taking care of them, or they don't get what they need, and whatever it is. But anger is a flashpoint. Mm-hmm. And we just get angry and we pick up a gun and shoot people and then kill ourselves, and nobody gains anything from it, except making the news for a few days. Nothing happens, nothing changes. We just get back into our daily routine and forget about the whole thing.
You're so
right. But we have to stop and think about this, and we have to stop and wonder what is going on. And I think what is really going on, and nobody seems to realize this, is that we have built such a big industry of producing weapons of mass destruction. According to statistics that I read a few months ago, we are producing 60% of the world's entire production of weapons. 60% is produced in this one country. And the next country that is producing the largest number of weapons is Soviet Union. And there's a gap of nearly $200 million between what they are producing and what we are producing. And yet we go on increasing that every year. investing more and more money in these weapons and production. And they have to be sold somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
You can't keep producing things and not selling them to make money. So we sell them to all these countries where we indirectly, encourage people to have revolutions and use the weapons.
Mm-hmm.
And we then liberalize our own society and say the Constitution requires us to carry weapons. I don't see why. When you're living in a civilized society, why do you need weapons for protection? What do we have police for? I mean, when I was living in Memphis way in the 90s, one day I came back from my trip and I found that my house had been burgled, completely ransacked from the front room to the back. And I think the burglary was in progress even as I drove into the driveway, because I found the back door open and, if it had been open for a long time, there would be leaves and other things blown into the room. There was nothing. So when I called the police to tell them about it, it took them 2 hours to come. And then he comes and he opens knocks at the door, and when I opened, he said, "Are you Mr. Gandhi?" I said, "Yes." "Did you complain about robbery in your home?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Okay, we have made a note of it. Now you can claim your insurance." So I said, "Aren't you going to come in and check, what I'm saying?"
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "No, I'm not going to come in because I'm not going to investigate this. It's not my business." So I said, I'm surprised. I said, "I thought the police were here to protect citizens."
Right.
And he says, "No, you got to protect yourself. If you don't have a gun, buy a gun and protect yourself." So basically what he is telling me is that I have to be the judge, jury, and executioner in such cases. And I have not heard of any other civilized country where we kill people for robbing other people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we laugh at Saudi Arabia that they chop off the hands of thieves and we consider them to be backwards and we denounce them. But we're taking the life of a person.
Right, we just shoot
A robber person who comes and robs your home and you shoot the person dead and you become a hero. You got rid of a bad guy.
Right.
How can you define the world between good and bad people? Every person has the ability to do good and every person has the ability to do bad. So if we're going to just keep on killing bad people, eventually we'll be getting rid of all of humanity.
Exactly. Self-destructed. Yeah. That's so true what you're saying. If we just started there and we eliminated anybody from being able to purchase the weapons of mass destruction, that's just insane. Yeah, and it is baffling how, when you go to a hotel, how does anyone carry all that stuff and get up there unnoticed and, make all those arrangements? It's just, absolutely ridiculous. I heard also on the news, it was just a moment, talking about it was the murderer's brother. So I like to use the word strong words. There was a massacre. There was lots of murder. A lot of people are dead today, rather than an event or some unnecessary act. I think it helps to call it, what it is. But his brother was on the news talking about, here's the kind of guy that would make cookies and take them to his mother. Okay. That's the kind of guy we're talking about. And I think that kind of ties into your book, The Gift of Anger, because that is, in addition to the kind of weapons that we're offering people that we don't need to be, we're also training from early on, young children, that anger is not acceptable, it's not okay, we're a suppressed society, and then we are, in huge quantities selling the strongest coffee we can have on the planet with sugar, and asking everybody to work it out at the traffic light, I mean, the anger that's suppressed is eventually going to pop, and that's part of what you're wanting people to see.
Yeah, and the tragedy is that we are unwilling to teach about anger or talk about anger and how to use that energy. We have condemned anger as being something evil, and that we don't have to talk about it, we need to suppress it. And that's not right, because anger is a wonderful emotion. If we didn't have anger, we wouldn't do many things that we do every day. A lot of it is motivated by anger. But it's the kind of anger where we channel that energy into constructive action, not anger that we abuse and destroy people. And that is a lesson that we need to learn. And how do we control anger, and how do we stop ourselves from that flash reaction that anger makes us do there. And that was again another lesson that I learned from my grandfather, when he said that the reason why we end up abusing anger is because we have no control over our minds. That we do a lot of physical exercises to build a strong body.
Yes.
But we never do any mental exercise to have a strong mind. And yet we need to do that, because what we assume is that the mind is there only to fill it with knowledge. And that's not right. We have to control mind. We have to have that control. And the fact that we don't have control over our mind is then the fact that, at any given moment you'll find that we have a dozen different thoughts racing through our mind at the same time. So to that extent we are distracted. We are not able to put our attention on any one thing. And when you're distracted and not in control of your mind, when somebody provokes you, you immediately react in a flash, and you end up doing something that you regret later on. So to do this kind of mental exercise, you have to, just as your commitment to physical exercises, you should have a commitment to mental exercises for a few minutes every day. Sit in a quiet room and hold in front of you something pleasant, could be a photograph or a flower of something, and then concentrate your energy on that object for 1 minute, and shut your eyes and see how long you can keep that image in your mind's eye. When I began doing this exercise, I found that in the beginning, moment I closed my eyes, the image vanished. But when I did this regularly every day, I found that I could keep that image longer and longer, and to that extent my mind was coming under my control. And then when I wanted to focus on any one particular thing, I could focus my mind entirely on that and shut out all the other extraneous thoughts and noises.
That's a very powerful exercise.
It is.
Definitely.
And that is something we need to do from childhood. And, it's like physical exercise again. You can't do it for a year and then give it up and say, I'm going to have a healthy body.
Right.
You got to do it every day.
Yeah, it's ongoing.
So similarly, the mind thing also is something that we have to do every day, so that we have that control of the mind.
I'm so glad that you're really addressing anger. It's so powerful, and I've always liked to say that we're not robotic. If God did not intend, or our Creator did not intend for us to have emotions, joy and anger and sadness and those kind of things, we wouldn't have them. Exactly. We would just be, like robots running around. And the other thing I've seen for many years is that a lot of times people are treating themselves as being depressed or red energy of depression and arthritis and all the fibromyalgia. I'm not saying always, but in some cases. And often it's not that they're sad, they're mad. They're angry, and they have never really addressed, because in our society, it's okay if you're sad. It's okay if you're pitiful. It's okay, you know, poor you. But to be mad, you're called names about that. So I'm really grateful that you address that and you give different processes to do in the book that help someone address anger.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, I didn't even know when we started this that it was your grandfather's birthday.
Yeah,
You know, could it maybe in some way, maybe this today will be a defining day with 58 people dead today and 500 plus people injured. Maybe this will be a defined day that something will come from this. Like you say, we can't let this go, oh, okay, well, now Orlando isn't the winner. You know, now Las Vegas has the largest. We cannot let this be like we just forget it and move on. We need to definitively make some changes, change some laws. I urge everyone to write your Congress, your senators, everybody that you can. We must do something.
Yes, we have. Unfortunately, you know, our founding fathers had hoped that we would have a government for the people, by the people, of the people. But what we really have is a government of the rich, for the rich, by the rich.
Yeah.
They don't care about common people at all. And that's another big tragedy. And we accept all of these things in a civilized society. That is what really boggles my mind. That we don't want to get up and make our voices heard.
Yeah, that's very true. And then a lot of us as spiritual leaders, they want to keep us toned down because of church and state.
Yeah.
So it's that balance as well.
Well, it was wonderful speaking with you.
And wonderful speaking with you, and thank you for your contribution.
Thank you.
Absolutely.